In 1948, the United Nations declared education a human right. 67 years later, there remain barriers to education. Globally, many schools lack the funds to pay for education. In North America, the cost of textbooks is prohibitive. Organizations and schools are left with outdated materials, and students pursuing a higher education are left with debt. Access to learning materials is also a barrier. Research is behind paywalls, and materials are not adapted for local or cultural contexts, nor available in other languages. Learners in remote locations may be without teacher support, and likewise, teachers may not have access to materials to support their practice. Are there solutions? Open educational resources have been proposed as an approach to facilitate equitable access to education. UNESCO coined the term O.E.R. in 2002 and provide one definition. Open educational resources are teaching, learning, or research materials that are in the public domain or released with an intellectual property license that allows for free use, adaptation, and distribution. Let's unpack this. There are two components to UNESCO's definition. One, the materials, and two, the license under which those materials are provided. Teaching and learning materials come in many forms. An assumed criteria of O.E.R. is that resources are digitally available. Digital materials afford a variety of formats, so resource outputs will be considered when developing O.E.R. for maximum accessibility. A further consideration for O.E.R. materials are where they are stored and found. There are a variety of O.E.R. search engines and O.E.R. content repositories. Having educational content and making it available online does not mean that these resources are O.E.R. O.E.R. need to allow for the content to be reused, adapted, and redistributed. One way that an O.E.R. content producers identify materials that can be shared is through transparent licensing on materials. There are different licenses for different types of work. One is Creative Commons, which provides a spectrum of licenses to apply to educational content, from unrestricted use to completely closed. Once you've identified that a resource is an O.E.R., David Wiley on his blog opencontent.org suggests several permissions you have. The first is that you can reuse the content, duplicate it, or copy. You can also revise the material for your learning context. Then you can redistribute your new work to share with colleagues and students. Another way you can use O.E.R. is to remix the material and create something completely new. Wiley also suggests that an O.E.R. allow you to retain or keep the material so that you can take it with you. There is a growing community of open online educators and O.E.R. content producers.